Hello there, Chris here from Becky's Models, and welcome to this segment that I like to do once a month. It's a fireside or computer side chat where I just talk about models, about our great hobby. This month's topic is a revisit of one I did about a year ago, and that's the top 10 wish list. What are those top 10 kits that you really want to get that haven't been catered for yet? Now, if you haven't watched that video yet, I'll leave a link up here at the top and also one below. And just to remind you, if you have watched it and you're coming back to go, okay, what's going on? Because there's been a slew of new releases in the last 12 to 18 months, even the last couple of weeks. And I didn't actually go for 10 specific kits. I did 10 categories. And they were mainly from, I had a few personal favourites in there, but there was mainly about what are the gaps in the hobby? What are the things that you don't think aren't being catered for? Now, everyone left there's about 500 comments left in the comments below. So I've gone through them as well and had a look and sort of compared the both. But let's go into it, and I'm going to use the same 10 categories. So let's start with the first one. I started the ships category with two very esoteric and very personal picks for me, which were some Japanese and Italian seaplane tenders, and of course nothing's come to pass. I didn't expect it to, so that's the first fail, I guess, on this list. However, in terms of submarines, though, I did mention that the new Das Werk 1/72 scale U9, I recommended that they should bring that out in 1/44 scale, because it's a much easier scale for us modelers to handle with. If you've seen my Revell 1/44 scale Type 7 build, I'll put a link up there to it. It's a great little kit. Now, Trumpeter have brought out their version of that kit, and I have built it, and I will be doing a video series on that. So leave a comment below if you want to see that fairly soon. Probably be in the new year. But Das Werk still haven't brought out the 1/44 scale, which is a shame. I think it'd be a really good size. Only be about 45-50 centimeters long from memory, and a lot cheaper, and they get more buying it. I still went and bought the U9 though, because I do intend to do something with the Rodin Felixstowe in the same scales. In terms of other areas, battleships, sailing ships really haven't had much of a what's the word I'm looking for? Hasn't been a flourishing of new sailing ship kits come to the fore. But in battleships, hey, 1/200 scale, woohoo! We've had the new 1/200 scale Yamato. I'll put a picture of the boxwork up there, the artwork up there from Gallery, Merit, I Love Kit, Trumpeter. It's all the same bloody company. So that behemoth is out now, and it's very expensive, but what you get, and I'm going to think about, might do a video about this. I actually have a theory that 1/200 scale ships and like 1/16 scale Armour are actually the cheapest model kits out there. But apart from that, we haven't had much else in the ship category, which is a shame, but it's not doing too bad. There's a few that are missing, and I'll go over them in my quickfire round later on. Now we come to targets, tanks. Yeah. The biggest gap that I saw that I mentioned last time was a Stug 3, Sturmgeschütz, I can't pronounce it in German, whatever it is, assault gun, based on the Panzer III chassis. Most important variant tank, or AFV, for the Germans during World War II, and we hadn't had one in 1/16 scale. And then now we've got two. We've got from Gallery Models, Trumpeter, blah blah blah, that conglomerate, and Takom have brought out one. Now Takom have been doing really well in that scale, and I really applaud them. I've bought pretty much all their tankettes that they've brought out in 1/16. The Wiesel, they've done every variant of the Panzer I now. I'm hoping they bring out a Panzer II next, that'd be great. But we've also had much more in 1/16. We've had two Shermans, one of which I might do an inbox review later. I picked one up. And a Tiger tank. Yes, another Tiger tank. But what's missing in that big, massive, humongous scale that, for a lot of vehicles, Tiger 1, it's huge. I've got one sitting on the bench over there, and it's massive, takes up half the bench. What's missing? Well, a Jeep. No, the Takom have brought out a Jeep. That's fantastic. Full interior, engine, that's great. Good size. What's really missing, in my opinion, and it still holds over from the last video, the British Universal Carrier. That's a perfect little small vehicle in 1/16 scale. There's really not that many kits in the smaller scale, so Takom, get onto it. Now, the other thing I mentioned in 1/35 scale that's missing, and has finally been, well, almost 98% filled, is another Michael Wittmann Tiger. Hey! I went off the rails about that last time. Go check the video out, and I still hold the same view. I think there's been more Michael Wittmann Tiger tanks released in 1/35 scale than he actually supposedly destroyed. But the one I was really looking forward to, Ryefield Models, they've been doing their Tiger 1 range with interiors. Now I really wanted them to bring out the Wittmann or a late Tiger tank with a full interior, so I can do it blown up. Because that's the only way I would do a Michael Wittmann Tiger, is blown up, because he only lasted 2 weeks against the Western Allies. Yeah, so he did not see that coming. So they did a boxing with just the exterior, with his markings and the command features and so forth, but they've just announced or just released the late with a full interior, so I'm definitely getting that. Thank you, that wish will be fulfilled, and I can finally do an upside down Tiger. Sci-fi, well, really Star Wars. I'm not really interested in a lot of the other sci-fi stuff. Put comments below if there's been some stuff that's come out in the last 12 months with Star Trek, with the Machina Krieger, that sort of stuff. But really with Star Wars, we've been blessed by Bandai for so many years when they started to bring the stuff out. But they haven't brought out any new vehicles or aircraft, spacecraft, whatever you want to call it, in quite a while. And that's because of Disney. Disney failed with their merchandising sales, post-sequels. Went over that in the last video if you want to check out my little rant. Is it going to come back? You know, has Disney had a bit of a revival? I don't know. The new Andor show, which I'm absolutely loving, doesn't really have that much action or figures or vehicles involved, apart from the Luthen, or as I call him, Space Batman. His vehicle, the Fondor Hallcraft, I think. Oh, that looks fantastic. I'd love to get a large-scale version of that. But what we have had is Mandalorian. Mandalorian's been successful, and there's been some new figures. So we've had Mando himself in 2 versions, and Boba Fett. I mean Fett, yeah, Boba middle-aged Boba. So that's a new tooling of the old Boba Fett figure, and Grogu. But that's about it, which is sort of disappointing. There's still lots of gaps in the Star Wars lineup, and yeah, you can fill them by getting a 3D printer and printing out your own large-scale stuff. But we still don't have a TIE bomber, which is quite an iconic spacecraft. We don't have the Lambda shuttle, apart from the old stuff. So I'm really hoping there's some gaps to be filled here soon. What we have had, of course, going back to the Mandalorian, Bandai refused to do a big one because they're just so conservative. They just can't. They were still a bit hesitant on can actually make any money on that. But Revell and AMT have both done the Razor Crest, and I bought the Revell one, and I did a review on it. I'll put a link up there to show you the review I did. I did a build review to see how it actually goes together and the quality of the parts and so forth. And look, I haven't got the AMT, but looking at them both, I think the Revell's the better option. But it's still flawed. It's still a Revell kit. I mean, let's be honest. Revell's okay. It's not, but they're not top grade. They're not A grade stuff. But at least we've had that, and I'm happy to have that kit. I'm going to get it built one day eventually. Going to get some really good parts for it. So what else do you think in that category that what wishes that still need to be fulfilled? Now, if you view my channel and have a look at the build videos I've done in the past, you can tell that I'm a bit of a Tamiya fanboy. I mean, I love the way that they go together. I love the way they're engineered, particularly their aircraft. I have a gripe about some of their 1/48 scale stuff because it's really hard to, not hard, but it's a bit of a pain to put them in flight. But what Tamiya are notorious for doing is they'll release something and everyone will get so excited. Then they'll go, hang on. This is the least popular variant of that, so like the F4B Phantom or the P38 FG, they'll release that and then they'll just wait and they'll keep us on tenterhooks like, okay, when are you going to bring out the popular versions like the F4E, the F4J Phantoms, or when are you going to bring out the P38J, the Lightning? And they've done that with the former. Now, I remember in the last video I complained about this even before the kit was out with the F4B. Anyway, they've got the P38J, huzzah, I've got the P38F and I'm going to build that next year, buddy build with a friend of mine. But there's no late F4 Phantoms from Tamiya. So what's happened is Meng and Zucchemura, they've filled the gap with their one. So opportunity lost for Tamiya, but then they blindsided us with the new 1/48 scale F35A. Now that's an aircraft I really wasn't considering. It wasn't on my wish list. Was it on yours? Not really. It hasn't been that popular, even though it's the most modern and advanced aircraft out there right now. But yeah, they stunned us with this new release, not that long ago, and it looks absolutely bloody fantastic. The detail, the engineering with the wheelbase, such if you like to do, wheels down, etc. But yeah, I've got to get one. So that's an addendum to my wish list. When I see a new Tamiya kit, I just get so excited. It doesn't matter what the subject is. I'll push through that and I'll build it. Well, what about Armour? Well, on the Armour side, they're notorious for not only putting out a new release and not doing a variant of it, but also they keep re-popping stuff from the 1970s and 80s. And one of the ones they did was the KV-1 or the KV series of tank destroyers or heavy tanks, the Soviet ones. They did a retooled of the KV-1 and they brought that out a little while ago, 2 years ago. But I was really, really hoping they'd do a KV-2, and surprisingly they didn't wait that long, and hey, we've got a KV-2 now, so there it is up there. I'll put the box art, and yeah, I'm definitely getting that. I mean, I've built, I don't know, 4 or 5 KV-2s. I've done a few in 148 scale. I've done the Tamiya, Hobby Boss. I've done the Trumpeter one in 135th, which is an okay kit, but Tamiya, mwah, love it. So that's going to be a real fun kit to get. So that's another tick off the wish list. However, what they haven't done, and they've literally done nothing, is 132nd scale. It just looks like they've given up on that scale. Looks like 148 is where it is for Tamiya, which is a shame. Now, if you're British, or actually if you're any country, you should tip your hat to what the Brits did during the Battle of Britain. And yeah, but where's the early Spitfires and the early Hurricanes and a really top quality kit? That's the question I asked and lamented on my last video, and we have had a lot of fantastic, great news. I'm really excited about this category. First off with the Hurricane. Okay, so we haven't got a new 132nd scale Hurricane, but there are some rumours about that. I won't talk about that right now. But Armour Hobby, who make those fantastic small 172nd scale kits and have really cornered that market of high detail, excellent fitting kits, sort of expert level sort of kits was what they do. They're going to move up to 148 scale with I think it's a Mark II Hurricane, so hopefully they'll follow that up with a Mark 1. So that's fantastic news. So if you're in that scale and you've recently got the Edward Mark 1 Spitfire or the Tamiya Mark 1 Spitfire, your Battle of Britain stuff is almost there, so that's fantastic. Those of us in man scale, for want of a better word, my good mate Eric at Man Scale Models, that's all he does is 132. That was my biggest gripe last time I did this video was, where's the 132 early Spitfire? And huzzah! What has come on the market, blown everyone away, was at Telford a weekend or so ago. The Kotari, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, New Zealand company, just started up. It's ex-Wingnut Wing guys, so you know it's going to be fantastic. And all the pre-release information and all the stuff they gave out looked absolutely amazing. You know that the accuracy is going to be bang on, the details are going to be fantastic, the engineering is going to be fantastic. I've bought 2 already on pre-order. That's how excited I am about this. Okay, and I'm definitely going to do one wheels up, and I'm definitely going to, when I get my 3D printer, I'm going to work out how to convert that to in-flight and make a conversion set for it, because I'm so excited about that. Finally have a Mark 1, I think it's a mid version Spitfire. And then they snookered us at Telford and they said, hey, we're also doing a Mark 1 early, so a Dunkirk, a pre-war Spitfire, and we're doing a Mark 5. Fantastic. Okay, so early Merlin Spitfire engined, it's there. I mean, the kit's not even out yet, and it's going to be a little bit expensive, but that's what it's like these day and age. It's about $100 Australian or something like that, or a little bit more. But thank you to the guys over there in NZ. Whirlybirds, helicopters. Well, the good news just keeps on coming, doesn't it? I mean, the major thing that I pointed out in the last video was, where's the Apache? Where's a large scale, 132, 135th, don't care about the variants of that scale. Where's that large scale Apache? That's right, my dog Penny, she's just off the side there going, yeah, where is it? Where's the Apache? Yeah, exactly. She's snorting there. Well, now, not only do we have 1, but 2, Meng and Tacom, within days of each other, just recently announced, fully detailed, amazing looking new tooled 135th scale Apaches with the correct raised detail, rivet detail on the outside. So there we go. That category's finished. Done. Let's move to the next one. No, we've got a few more to talk about. In terms of the Russian helicopters, though, there's still a problem with the Hind, the Mi-24 Hind. So they're available in all the scales, but none of them have that outside fidelity of the raised rivets and the sort of really rough looking sort of finish that a lot of them have. So Trumpeter's 135th is still the benchmark, and it still has recessed rivets. Zvezda came out with a 148 new tool, which has no rivet detail. Very disappointing, and almost no interior detail. It looks like a pantomime of their 172. And then Trumpeter have brought out a 148, and everyone thought, hey, this is it, we're done, thank you very much. But no, again, it's just a scaled down version of the 135th. It's super bloody expensive. It's, it's $150, I think, here in Australia. It's just not good enough. So that gap is still there in Russian helos. However, I think it's TACOM. I've got to check my notes, but I'm pretty sure it's TACOM. They've brought out the Mi-28, the Havoc, which is the twin rotor version, which is very timely since a lot of them are getting shot down in Ukraine right now. So there's plenty of opportunity for you to do a shot down diorama if that's your want, or share one kit with a friend. One of you build the tail shot down, one of you build the front shot down, whatever. The other great new release we've had, which is bowled everyone over in the and also goes a little bit into the civilian category, which I'll do next, is ICM are going to bring out a 135th CH-54 Tahe. That's the Sky Crane. I'll put a picture up there, and that's that big mammoth helicopter that has no compartment behind, so it can carry lots of large objects. I mean, wow. Don't we live in a golden age of modelling? I think we do. Let's move on. There's still one area I still reckon needs a lot more love and a lot more attention, and that's civilian subjects. And I don't mean cars. The car market is pretty well good. I'm not a car modeler, so I can't really say how perfect it is. But in terms of civilian vehicles, I'm talking about aircraft, general aviation, Cessnas, everything, Beechcraft, all the sort of small planes, medium, business sort of planes, that sort of stuff. We're really relying on some really old toolings and just nothing at all, but there has been some good news recently. Dora Wings are going to bring out a 148 scale Beaver, and that's fantastic. So I'm really hoping they do that in a float plane version as well, because that's where I love doing the float planes. But apart from that, we're still a bit skint on the ground. However, in tractors, it's slowly building up a bit of momentum there. So I mentioned in the last video that Mini Art were doing one or two. Well, they're expanding their range more and more. Mainly pre-World War II German stuff, but it's slowly getting there. And then on the other end, Hasegawa keep on bringing out variations of their Yanmar agricultural vehicles. So you've got tractors, combine harvesters, that sort of stuff. But there's still that gap in the middle. The gap is, American tractors. Where are those? I mean, the only things you can really get at the moment are die casts, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who want to build a tractor. I know Will Patterson is developing a tractor kit right now. I don't know which it is going to be some sort of American tractor, because he knows that there's a massive gap there. So let's hope that this gap gets filled. My last video, I did what was called a quickfire round, where I had literally 10 kits and we just shot through them really quickly. So I'm going to look at my notes and just check to see if any of those 10 kits actually been done. Let's go through them. Number one, we've got a P47 132 Tamiya. No. What about a 132nd scale Messerschmitt 262 from Tamiya? No. As I said, Tamiya seem to have given up on the 132nd scale stuff. Moving to motorbikes, a Vincent Black Shadow, apart from, Revell's got the 112, but what about a 1.6 or 1.9? No, not in plastic at least. There's the very expensive white metal resin thingy from Model Hero. Let's move on. A 132nd scale early Allison powered P51 AB Mustang. No, unfortunately. Yeah, 172, not in man scale. Sorry. What else? Okay, a 1/200 scale Trumpeter Yamato. Oh yes, we got that, didn't we? So that's there. A 1/350 scale HMS Victorious, and that was one of my personal picks. So I'm like, that's a massive gap. I mean, you've got the old Airfix one. There's a 1/700 scale. Where's a 1/350? Surely Trumpeter have been doing really well with ships. Surely they'll plug that gap soon enough. Okay, keep going with ships. 1/350 scale CV6 Enterprise. Yes, they've got one out. I've got it. I've got mine. but it's the early midway version. There's no late version where, you know, the Enterprise did so much fantastic fighting in the Pacific War. Now we've got 4 to go, 4 at once. Here we go. We've got a B-24, B-25, B-26, B-29, all in 148 scale. No yes, yes no. So yeah, we don't have a B-24 Liberator 148, just the old version. There's no new tool. However, HK models have done the B-25 in 148. That's just come out. That's great. ICM have done the B-26 in all the variants. B-29, no. We've still got the old monogram kit. 2 more to go. 148 scale F-86, the AE, the early version Sabres. No, there's still no really that version. There's just the F or the Canadair version. Don't get the FX on 148, the new tool. It's not new. It's embarrassing. That's all I would say. And then the last one was a 135th scale M103 heavy tank. No, still not there. So that Quickfire list was not my list. I trawled that around all the forums and asked all my mates, you know, what do you think's missing? And they gave me this sort of list, and I curated it down. I still want to hear your list, so leave a comment below and tell me what you think is still missing. So maybe another year from here, we'll have another look at this wish list. Really, we should just call these monster kits. I mean, jet aircraft are huge, even on 148 scale, but we're still lamenting some big gaps in 132. And the biggest one for me personally, F111. Where is it? A TAN model were supposedly developing. I don't know what's going on there. I think they're doing more other stuff, smaller scale stuff, or smaller vehicle stuff, and not as complex. So there's a big gap there. Maybe Tamiya, if you're listening, you could make an effort of that on 148 scale to replace the Hobby Boss and Academy versions. Which, to be honest, they're okay. I've built the Hobby Boss. It's all right, but it's no new sort of whiz-bang 2020 kit, is it? Brrrt, or as we say, the A10. What's going on with the A10? We've still got the ancient Trumpeter 132nd scale. 148, we've got the Hobby Boss, but it's the A, it's the early version. There's no modern-ish, even though it's a bloody old aircraft. But in modern use, A10. We've had not one, but 3 new releases of the A10C. So we've got Hobby Boss, just updating their A to a C, which is fair enough. And then we've got a new tool Academy, which actually looks a lot better. The surface detail looks fantastic. And then Great Wall Hobby have announced one. Haven't seen any details of that one yet, but hey, Great Wall do some fantastic aircraft, especially their F-14s. They're slowly building their 148 catalogue, so keep an eye out for that one. I would probably skip the Hobby Boss, have a look at the Academy and the Great Wall. We have had some success with the F-35 though. Like I said, the Tamiya have done the 148A, but Trumpeter have brought out the A and the C in 132nd scale, and they look really impressive. I don't know about the surface detail with the RAM panels and so forth. That's, you know, out there, but at least they've had a stab at it. You know, I don't know if the Mad Riveters got to it either. Whenever they do a 132 scale aircraft, Trumpeter always seem to have some bloke who's just cover the whole thing in rivets. Haven't done the B though. The B is my favourite version of the F-35. The VTOL, it's got a vertical takeoff landing version. So I'm really hoping that will be the next one from Trumpeter or someone. Italeri's done at 148, but you know, it's Italeri. I'm a bit about them. I have this thing called the Air Trilogy that I try to avoid. AIR, Airfix Italeri Revell. I know, I'm snobbish, but there it is. And the last one on the list, which is a bit of I talked about it last time, no new F-14s. So Tamiya aren't doing F-14s in 132. Unfortunately, they've got the ancient kit. And then I really want to do a 132 scale EA6B Prowler. I'll put a picture up there of one. I've got the Kinetic, and it's an okay kit in 148. It's got a few foibles, but a nice big Prowler. Trumpeter make the A6A and the A6E Intruder, so it'd be really great if they could step up and do the Prowler. Such an important aircraft in naval aviation, and that's a big gap that hasn't been filled. Now we come to literally the biggest thing on my wish list, and that was the Wingnut Wings 132nd scale Avro Lancaster. And unfortunately, yeah, Wingnut Wings, as I mentioned in that video, they died. Okay, they're gone. But what happened? You can see off screen there. Border Models picked up the molds. They finished it. They developed the kit and made instructions and decals and blah blah blah. and now it's on the market. There it is. Yeah, hey, now we've got it, and it's, you know, as I opined in the last video, this thing was literally going to be the best kit ever made, and it is a fantastic, wonderful, great kit. However, if you've watched my review, and I'll put a link up there, I was disappointed, only slightly, because, you know, I have the personal proclivity to do my aircraft in flight, and they have engineered that kit not to do in flight. Okay, so that's a shame. It can be like any kit. Any kit can be converted, just like any 1970s, 1960s kit with raised panel lines. You can convert into a masterpiece if you put in the effort and time. Same thing with the border models. I love it. I can't wait to get the clear parts were smashed, and mine, just like everybody else's, that was shipped from China. So I'm waiting on new clear parts, and I'm going to take a stab at making it in-flight capable. There's a full figure set available for it. I've bought that. That's on the way. So I'm really, really happy that, you know, the vision that the guys had at Wingnut Wings has been translated into something real. It's been a very expensive kit, and they've brought out a nose version, just like Hong Kong models did with theirs. Spit it out, Chris. That's a $200 kit of just the nose. Just get it for the box art, because the box art's absolutely hilarious. You should look at it up. See if I can find a picture of it. It's the most inaccurate box art ever, but it's fun. Anyway, there we are. My last one on my list has been given, and I'm really grateful for that, even though it is, like I said, slightly disappointing. But stay tuned for that one. That's going to be pretty much the centerpiece of my model collection, is definitely that, because it is going to be in flight, and it's not going to be landing, it's not going to be taking off, wheels down. It's going to be in the air doing that. One day I'll get there. So there it is. We've updated the wish list. Have your wishes been granted? Or have you got some new ones? If you do have one, leave a comment below. I really want to hear from you. I had 500 comments in the last video. It was a really good discussion that we all had about what the hobby is missing. But let's be honest, we are literally in a golden age of modelling. We shouldn't really complain that much. Well, we have every right to complain. You know, it's our money to spend on it, and we want to get the best kits we can. But we are living in a great time. There's been so many new releases in the last 12, 18 months. I hope it continues. I hope more of these wishes get fulfilled. But anyway, until next time, happy modelling, and I'll see you later. Cheers.